Goeienaand, good evening, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. Wow, you know, fingers are starting to be pointed at different people within the country. And I'm pointing my fingers fairly and squarely at Duduzane Zuma. Listen to what he has to say in this short clip. His message to the looters. Let's listen to that first.
For the people that are protesting and looting, please do so carefully and please do so responsibly. For the people that are protesting and looting, please do so carefully and please do so responsibly.
And what about the looters? Well, let's have a look at an example of obviously someone who had a bakkie to go and loot stuff and put it on the back of the bakkie. Let's see what they're doing with the riches that they have stolen. Here comes the video clip.
Hey, situation right now. Inkinga sazi sogoduka kanjani. Awungangidluli. Wema! Susingalo.
Uyabona?
Jesus, sisovuma kanjani vule linye. Vule linye.
Vula linye ke manje.
Awema, asiyazi ukuthi sogoduka kanjani. Inkinga yethi lapho. Hey,
Zingubo zokugqoka lezi.
awema. Awema.
Into zokugqoka zonke lezi. Ayidayisona.
Asazi inkinga sogoduka kanjani.
I'm going to play a video clip that is doing the rounds on social media where you've got this, apparently one of the instigators talking about their plan following the looting, and that is to target the minority groups. And I'll let you hear what this person has to say. I have to tell you, I don't know who he is, I don't know what the circumstances are, I don't know if this is just a staged event, but just so that you know, this is doing the rounds on social media. Here it is.
In malls everywhere. Once you are done with that looting, go to Indian areas. It's not me saying that, I'm saying the court says that. Go to Indian communities, go there and kill Indians and burn their houses. Go to white areas, go there once you are done with looting, go there and kill white community, then and burn their houses. Then that code has landed to our ears.
Okay, now you see one of the instigators, Duduzane Zuma, who has not been apprehended or put behind bars yet, and you see one of the looters. Now you're going to hear the Deputy Minister for State Security talking about the situation in South Africa and what a complete mess it is.
The instigators with political agendas and ulterior motives to destabilize the country. He joins us now to explain exactly what he means. Firstly, Deputy Minister, thank you for your time this morning. Broadly, your reaction to everything that has happened this week.
Thanks very much, Mogani, and thanks for the opportunity. What has happened is quite unfortunate. What started to be as a political protest has turned to be what we see now, a destruction of property, a destruction of the economy, but a clear orchestrated plan of economic sabotage for very ulterior motives to destabilize the country, given the firm and the strong stance taken by President Ramaphosa, who has now become a target of the instigators.
The major criticism in terms of the response to all of this has been that particularly the intelligence services have been asleep at the wheel.
Of course, Mogani, we must accept that every turn and every time when there is catastrophe in any country, whether you are talking about 9/11, there is always an attack on the intelligence. What unfortunately intelligence cannot do is to stand up in public and say, we told you. Because intelligence does not have what is called a law enforcement mandate. What we do is process information, like the scenarios, part of the scenarios, because this has been building up for some time, even before the Concord ruling. We have been sharing that information with law enforcement, that some of the unfortunate statements that have been made that associated with the governing party, attack against and to delegitimize the judiciary and so on. We've been following up in terms of domestic stability. The intelligence has been on the roll and has been picking up some of those issues. We have shared of the potential and the possibility of scenario where we find ourselves with law enforcement agencies.
Are you saying you weren't listened to?
Well,
I'm going to just ask you, I'm not sure what's happening. Our line keeps cutting there. Let me just give you a chance to say that again. Are you saying you weren't listened to?
I'm saying the law enforcement agents must look at themselves with foresight and say what we could have done better. And I think they could have been averted. I must say from the intelligence view, working with the law enforcement agencies, a lot has been averted. The plot was big to pick up and neutralize the threats that we picked up.
Firstly, let me just respond to what you're saying. A lot worse could have happened. I think that's what the minister yesterday also said, Ayanda Dlodlo, this week. How much worse? What was averted?
The plan, Mongani, was that you must disrupt the distribution and supply, which is why the pre-deployment of 2005 soldiers, among others, was based on the initial intelligence information. For example, the distribution from the coast to the inland, which is beginning to see now the target on the water treatment plants, the reservoirs, electricity, the energy, the fuel, and so on. That was the first intelligence information, which is why you see the 2005 deployment is based on that in terms of the coast. But that plan also mutated because we were able to avert that to target malls. Part of targeting malls is part of agitating for what is called popular revolt. So that people at the end of the day, you abuse and exploit their socio-economic conditions, which unfortunately, those who loot, they don't understand the bigger plan. They go and loot, some of them, they even loot a mortuary. There's nothing to eat in the mortuary. They loot South African blood services. There's nothing to eat there. But the plan is just to destroy everything else so that at the end, there must be an agitation for a public revolt and remove this government led by Ramaphosa because of the stance and the firm stance that President Ramaphosa has taken on corruption.
I would put it to you then that the reaction has been woefully inadequate. If the situation was as dire as what you've described, 2,500 soldiers were never going to be enough to deal with this mayhem. We had a scenario where, in some cases, police officers were running out of ammunition. They were using underpowered tear gas to try and dispel some of these crowds. At one point, troops that were deployed to an area were stranded for lack of transport to get to where they were needed. I would put it to you then, if the situation was as bad as you say it could have got, your response was completely woeful.
The first point we must make and emphasize, Mongani, the first deployment, I call it pre-deployment, was based on the information that the target in them was critical installations, your national key points, your airports, your water treatment plant, your reservoirs, the fuel and energy, and so on. And I must say that the deployment which we see now, the President has approved 25,000, is also informed by the latest information that actually we were able to neutralize the first threat in terms of disruption of distribution and supply. We are now dealing with malls so that we agitate people at the end of the day so that they cannot access what is called basic necessities, bread, fuel, paraffin, and so on. That's why now the deployment is based on the new information that actually...
Is it new information though? I mean, some of this began as early as Saturday. Certainly by Sunday it was quite obvious where this thing was going. The ministers were nowhere to be seen. Is it new information? We've all been watching with horror and seeing the inadequate response.
I'm not saying new as if it is today, Bongani. I'm saying earlier. That's why I'm saying there's been a build-up to this, even before the Concord judgment. I'm saying new on the basis that the initial plan of the instigators, it was averted. New information about targeting, because the plan is mutating every day, Bongani. So as intelligence that we are chasing a moving target.
So you're going to be playing catch-up the whole time? Is that what you're saying?
It's not a catch-up, Bongani. That's why, for an example, we are drawing up scenarios about beyond what we see today. We know the plan even beyond. That's why I'm talking about destabilization beyond what we see today, the economic sabotage, and broadly to make sure that at the end of the day, it's a low-intent intention to remove the current leadership led by President Ramaphosa. We're already postulating what will be the plan. That's why I'm talking about that could lead to domestic instability, but equally to make sure that there is agitation for what is called popular revolt.
But Deputy Minister, if you're saying that, I mean, you're clearly framing this as part of the battles we've been seeing in the governing party. The plan is to destabilize President Ramaphosa's administration and his government. Then surely the follow-up, the logical follow-up is that these aren't phantom figures fanning these flames. You must surely know who these instigators are. Why aren't we seeing arrests? Why aren't we seeing charges?
I have no doubt that you will see arrests soon. We have already shared that information with our client. Our client in this case is SAP, to say the following individuals...
Your client that doesn't listen to you.
Well, I think at some point, maybe when I listened to the Minister of Police, I think a day or two ago, I spoke about 12 names, and I think that list has increased now from our point of view in terms of the minds behind all of this chaos.
But you see, even that just frustrates me. It can't be just 12. It can't be just, a dirty dozen. I mean, you and I could not on any day decide, I don't know, just walk down the road to Sandton City and start looting. These things are coordinated. Messages and information is disseminated. People know when together. They know where together. They know how many people are going to show up to overwhelm security, whatever security there might be at a particular mall. Why don't you have that information?
We do have that. That's why I'm saying the Minister of Police only spoke about 12. And I'm saying from our point of view, it's not just 12. It's more than that. It's well orchestrated. It's well planned. We're looking for masterminds. We even gave a list of masterminds. And we are informed that law enforcement are beginning to knock at people's doors. I'm sure the arrest, you'll know about them soon. What I think we must take comfort, Bongani, is that millions of South Africans are against people who have many communities are rising up to protect their properties, to protect
because the state won't, because the state has failed to do so. And that's why we're seeing the situation, for example, in KZN escalate into what potentially could be a race war.
That's why Bongani, we never anticipated, and I don't think we should encourage and appreciate the fact that it is only the state that has a responsibility. The communities themselves, that is why we have seen us talking to communities. I'll be talking to a number of communities in areas, even if we have not seen a flare-up. But we must encourage people and discourage them, rather, not to participate in these issues, in this chaos, because when people of certain areas, they are being encouraged to loot, they continue to say, millions of South Africans, they continue to say, I'm lazy. Whether it's people of Deep Slot, we've seen them, when they are encouraged by a few individuals who are holding the country at ransom, they say, I'm lazy. The people of East London, the people of Kwamashu, who are in Soweto, majority of people of Soweto, they say, I'm lazy.
So let me ask you this. What is happening in Phoenix right now? What do you know about that?
What we, again, is part of the scenarios. Part of the plan of the instigators is that to the extent that they want to destabilize the country, they also planned what is called in the right-wing language. Even a lone wolf must start a racial tension and a racial war in South Africa. And what you see is but one scenario. That's why the minister immediately yesterday, the Minister of Police, went to quell tensions in...
Hold on, are you telling me right-wing elements are being dragged into this as part of the effort to destabilize Ramaphosa's government? Is that seriously what you're telling me is happening in Phoenix right now?
No, the right-wing element...
My question was specific, Deputy Minister. What is going on in Phoenix right now? Can you tell me what intelligence you have about that now?
What we see in Phoenix is community that started to protect their own property, that is beginning to have an element of vigilantism. And that is what we encourage, even as communities protect their own properties, but it must not lead to vigilantism. But that is a situation that I think we are attending to, because it could lead to a racial tension, which again, in the scenarios we throw up from an intelligent point of view, is what instigators also planned.
But it's also why you should protect the citizenry. I mean, you talk about these masterminds, they're clearly beating you at this game. They're better at you than you are. They're better at it than you are.
It's a matter of analysis, Bongani. I accept that South Africans at the moment, they have the right and I think the genuine consent to blame the state, to blame government. But I think I must assure South Africans that in the situation, the government is on top of the situation. But of course, the socio-economic conditions of our people is being exploited. We are ahead in terms of the plan, but I must say that the deployment of men boots on the ground has not been sufficient.
Deputy Minister, I'm going to ask you to put on another hat. You've been a spokesperson of the governing party. A lot of the fingers have pointed at incompetence, at failures in intelligence, but a lot of this blame must surely also go to the ANC. You've dragged, as the party that's in government, you've dragged us all into your factional mess, and we're the ones who are paying in terms of this economy and in terms of the lives that are being lost.
I must admit that firstly, part of what is leading to is a participation of people or members associated with the governing party, particularly in KwaZulu-Natal, in terms of that.
They're not associated, they are your members. They're not just associated, they're not your pals, they're your members.
Which is why, from the state and the government point of view, is that we will not look at your association, which is why the investigation is beginning to pick up some instigators, some of whom, of course, like you said, I must agree with you, they are members of the governing party, and they are on the list of people that the law enforcement agencies, in a matter of days, is knocking at their doors to make sure that they are facing the rule of law.
It's not just about apprehension, it's making sure that the people you are pointing the finger at can be successfully prosecuted. I'm not sure, listening to you now, you have even enough information.
I think from a state security point of view, we do have enough information about people who have forwarded that list to the law enforcement agencies. Information about meetings that were held. Some of the information, Mongani, is open source. It's not just about intelligence. It's open source about conversation that people continue to have.
Okay.
On groups, whether about meetings. So it's open source information. I listen to you every day. I listen to you, some of your callers. They share this information. We listen to them. It's open source information about the planned destabilization and who is behind this. So it's not a secret.
When does it end? Zizigodo, when will all this end?
Say it again?
When will all of this end?
I have no doubt this will not last for the longest time. That's why today...
When do you anticipate government will be in full control of this country and the security of the citizens?
Our view is that we should have quelled the situation by the end of this week. But of course, like I say, the instigators will not stop at anything. We will continue to arrest the instigators, but we must deal with what the instigators have planted in society. The issues about socio-economic conditions of our people that continue to be exploited, particularly the youth, that should be an ongoing struggle.
Zizigodo, I appreciate your time and some of your frank admissions. They were more than I thought I would get. Appreciate your time. Deputy Minister of State Security on the line.
Now you'll notice he again talks about instigators, political instability, which is what we've been talking about here on Loving Life for a week. Now, in the videos that you'll see attached here, I've just put a bunch of them together just so you get an idea that this is still happening across big parts or swathes of South Africa. Please remember to subscribe on Loving Life on YouTube to be kept informed. Please remember to register on lovinglifetv.com to be kept informed. Please like this video, please share this video, and above all, please stay safe. Bye for now.
There was no room on the road which wraps itself around the port of Durban. It had been turned into a thoroughfare for raiders and thieves as they ransacked warehouses and distribution centres located close to the shipping terminal. The young and the old took advantage, with people on foot, joined by those in pickup trucks who'd come to steal in bulk. And the police and the country's military, well, they were nowhere to be seen.
Why are people doing this? Why are people doing it?
The train tracks were used as a form of escape by those lugging stolen goods, although many tried to avoid our camera.
Hungry, we are hungry.
You're hungry?
Yeah, no.
It was a sentiment expressed by many.
Why are people looting?
No food, no nothing, no work, he said.
But you can't eat a bicycle!
I can, he responded. The trouble was triggered by the arrest of the former president, Jacob Zuma, last week. But it has been fueled by frustration in a country where millions are struggling in the midst of the pandemic. The authorities have made nearly 2,000 arrests nationwide, but they are not in control. On the River Horse Industrial Estate, a police unit fired tear gas and rubber bullets in an attempt to clear the park. The police are outnumbered and bewildered, and some are growing angry. As they race to another call, we saw one officer firing his weapon at people on the roadside at point-blank range. Roadblocks have been erected to intercept the looters, but they will not stop this disorder, for the authorities lack basic resources, while millions of people cannot meet their basic needs. In a crisis that threatens South Africa, ordinary people have chosen to steal, and the implications seem unmanageable. John Sparks, Sky News.
Stock! Egedechin.
Davedi mukampu ni bachali. Tumainga obera ano funa yera.
Bachasomba mukampu.
Nera boyingira okulu.
You do. Your country's falling apart at the seams. Yes, you've been through difficulties before. But if you allow the seed of rebellion to germinate, you will never recover from it. So my admonition to the South Africans is this: if you don't put that country back together again, just give it back to the Boers. Because you're fooling around. You're messing around with a country. You guys messed up a perfectly good country. Let's just put it that way. South Africa today is a figment of what it used to be. It is a shadow of what it used to be. And you guys are messing it up. So here's the thing. If you South Africans cannot put your act or get your act together, just give it back to the Boers. Let them take it back and bring some semblance of order and respect for the law. If you can't do that, then I'm sorry, South Africa. You're in trouble.